transferred to the ACT trial site where I get to do a little bit of it, which is good. But there is also a Director of Engagement that's been recently employed who was in the ACT government, so that's a really good link. Her name is Alice Tibbetts. I don't know if any of you know her already. But from now until the end of June and beyond, she'll be out there conducting public forums just like this, and there'll be a series of those as we move towards launch. We obviously have a key role and a key interest in ensuring the financial sustainability of the scheme. In a sense, that's everybody's responsibility, but there are people in the agency, as I said, in the actuarial unit, whose absolute primary purpose is to make sure that things are running as well as they can. This will be the first time, by the time we get to full scheme rollout, it will be the first time ever in the history of Australia, and I don't think I'm wrong in saying this, where we have a single body of data about people with significant and permanent disabilities and the effect or the outcomes of the supports that they're receiving on their lives. So we've started collecting that data then. We have a database that's collecting information about the people, the over 4,000 already who have come into the scheme and who have plans. And we will continue to do this. If any of you read even the executive summary of the Productivity Commission's report, one of the key pieces of feedback they had from people with disabilities, their families and carers, was that people hated having to repeat their story over and over and over and over and over and over. So every time somebody went to a new provider, it meant almost inevitably starting from scratch. And people get very tired of that. And so with this system, we will collect that information from people once, where they have bodies of information sitting with other providers that they feel we need to have. We can make arrangements to gather that information with people's consent. But once we have it, their story is there, it is captured. And then when they come in, you know, say they start off in the ACT, and in 3 years' time, that person and their family decides to move to South Australia, for example, we will be able to just shift them across. They'll contact the agency, their information is there, they don't have to start from scratch. I mean, this is one of the beauties of having something that will be a national scheme. It will be portable in the long term once we've hit full scheme rollout, and it will mean that the person only needs to tell their story to us just one single time. I will say, however, because this is interesting, we heard that information many times, even when we were in the lead up to launch. Myself and a couple of people from my team went round to each of the launch sites to do some co-design sessions with families and people with disability. And even there they were saying, oh, you know, we get so tired of telling people our stories. But the thing is, when people came in for their first planning session, they were very keen to tell us their story, even if it was only going to be that one time. And maybe it was with the knowledge that having told us just that one time, they didn't need to repeat the details again. We will have a very strong role in developing, enhancing the disability sector. Does anybody visit our website at least occasionally, the NDIS website? I'd encourage you to do so. So ndis.gov.au is the address. The reason I'm saying that is information is updated regularly, and anything that's new will appear on the carousel. So there's this shifting sort of set of headings up to the top right-hand side. Now, there have been some capability grants released just recently. The funding has been announced for that. So if any of you are working for a provider who think they might like to have a look at that, that's open for a month. So I'd just encourage you to go and have a look at that. It's about building community capacity and capability, about organisations that perhaps might like to set themselves up as a disability service organisation. And we will have a role in undertaking research. So we haven't quite commenced, although we have commenced the arrangements for doing a formal evaluation, because that's really important. But in the longer term, the data that's gathered is going to be this very, very rich source of data for researchers, both in the short and the long term. So that'll be very exciting too. So progress to the end of February, so this is pretty well up to date. I don't have March figures because March only finished yesterday. We've had 1,300,000 unique visitors to the website, so that means actual individuals, which is very good. We get around 2,500 visits to the website every single day. More than 5,500 people have actually visited our shop fronts, the 7 that are open at the moment. So these are people who didn't have appointments. These were people just coming in, seeking information or whatever. More than 7,500 access requests have been submitted. So that's the formal mechanism for people to seek access to the scheme, and I'll talk a bit about that later. Over 5,000 plans have now been completed. So we're moving well towards the target for the first year, which is to bring 9,000 people in and have them complete their plans. So everybody's expecting we will hit that target. And very comfortingly to people who work for the agency, the people who have come in and had their first or second or third planning session with the agency report a very high level of satisfaction with that interaction. So we must be doing something right. Now this is a really important slide. It looks very wordy, but I'll talk you through it. This gives you an idea, well not an idea, it gives you a summary of how things are changing between the current arrangements and how things are going to be in the future, and for the ACT that's the very near future, which is good. So on the left you've got access criteria. In other words, this is how people might access either a program or a source of funding or whatever. Under the former system that would vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So even